Erik Halterman of RotoWire here with 6 players to pick up this weekend, starting with Dylan Crews, set to be called up by the Nationals on Monday. Crews was the second overall pick in the 2023 draft, behind only his LSU teammate Paul Skeens, and I don't think he's going to hit the ground running quite like Skeens did, but I think he's going to help out your team down the stretch. Crews was more good than great in the minors. But he hit 272 with a 799 OPS, 13 homers, 25 steals in 99 games across the 2 highest levels of the minors. So that will play, especially in center field. I like Crews more long-term than necessarily as a star down the stretch this year, but he should have plenty of playing time because the Nationals aren't going to call him up except to play him all the time as they look to see what they have for next season. Also like that Crews cut his strikeout rate as he moved from AA to AAA, went from 24% to 17%. Looks like a talented young hitter, still growing and making adjustments. We hope that's the case for Spencer Torkelson, the next player on the list. Torkelson was the number 1 pick in the 2020 draft, but really hasn't shown that much at a big league level through parts of 3 seasons. He's a career .221 hitter with a 692 OPS. That doesn't really cut it anywhere, especially at first base. This year, he hit 201 with a 597 OPS before being demoted in early June, and it took some time to get going in the minors as well, but he's picked it up in recent weeks and earned a recall to the Tigers just the past few days. Should have an everyday role down the stretch as he looks to prove that he deserves a job next year. And Torkelson did hit 31 homers last year, even while he was struggling for much of the season. So he should be able to help your team out, at least in power. Already has 1 homer and 1 4-hit game in his first 5 games back. So maybe we'll see a good final 5 or 6 weeks from Torkelson. Our last hitter, Tommy Edman, only just made his season debut this week after recovering from October wrist surgery. Some setbacks made that take longer than initially anticipated, but the Dodgers were confident enough in his health to acquire him from the Cardinals at the deadline. You might think that coming back from such a major injury, he'd be used in something of a utility role, but Dodgers have been starting him every day in both center field and at shortstop. Already has a steal in his team debut as well, so if you were worried that the Dodgers were going to not let him run for fear that he'd re-injure his wrist, seems like that's not the case either. Edman should be a solid all-around contributor as long as he keeps this everyday playing time. He's a career .265 hitter, averages only 13 homers per 600 plate appearances, but an average of 26 steals, so he should definitely help you out if you're in the need of speed. On the mound, let's start with Ryan Nelson of the Diamondbacks. There were fears that he would move to the bullpen in recent weeks, but Arizona sent Jordan Montgomery there instead. Nelson's season numbers might still look pretty unimpressive to you, but it's been a tale of 2 halves for him. Through the end of June, Nelson had a 5.69 ERA with a 1.57 whip. He was striking out just 15% of opposing batters. But since the start of July, it's a 26% strikeout rate, with his ERA falling to 2.73 and his whip falling to 0.95. Nelson is a young pitcher who showed some good stuff and was getting occasional fantasy hype, even if the results weren't there yet over the past couple seasons. So this could be what the breakout looks like. Up next, we've got DJ Herz, a lefty for the Nationals, who was exciting but not very reliable after he debuted in early June. You might remember a 13 strikeout, 1-hit performance against the Marlins. He actually had 2 of his first 7 starts saw him strike out double-digit batters, but in the other 5 of those first 7 outings, he failed to even complete the 5th inning. But Herz has stabilized a bit lately. He's now gone at least 5 innings in 5 of his last 6 starts. Hasn't given up more than 2 earned runs in any of those 6. Has a 3.07 ERA, 1.23 whip over that 6-start stretch. Now, Herz in the minors had a 33% strikeout rate, but a 15% walk rate across his minor league career. So we know he can miss bats. We also don't know whether or not he can find the zone. That makes him very much a volatile option down the stretch, but big strikeout upside. If you are in the need of strikeouts, there aren't going to be many pitchers in his rostership range who have that kind of bat missing upside. And finally, if you need saves, how about Porter Hodge of the Cubs? Now, it's not guaranteed that he's the closer, at least as of recording, but the Cubs did cut closer Hector Neris to avoid him triggering an option which would have paid him $9 million next year. Certainly hadn't pitched well enough to earn that. Jorge Lopez got a save after Neris blew one last Saturday, but Porter Hodge got the first chance in the post-Neris world. Hodge is just a rookie, but he has the look of a future closer about him with his fastball slider profile and with his numbers. In 27 games this year, a 2.08 ERA, 0.89 whip, and a 31% strikeout rate. A 10% walk rate is a little high, but not enough of a problem to keep him out of the ninth inning if he keeps striking out nearly a third of opposing batters. The Cubs have had a lot of instability in the ninth inning this season, and man, they would love to answer their closer question in September of this year and not have to worry about it this off season. I think they'll give Porter Hodge a chance to win the job. For more names, check out the Saturday edition of the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast with me and Ryan Boyer.